Hi, I'm Ben.
And I'm Josh.
And this is a Bad at Magic podcast, a podcast about games, life, and other things. And welcome to episode 141.
So, Ben, very famously on this podcast, you took a completely spur-of-the-moment, sporadic, no decision-making process involved whatsoever trip to New York City to see a ridiculous musical. And I don't even remember. It was like Star Trek musical? I can't
It was
remember.
Con the Musical.
Con
it was
the
a
Musical,
parody
that's right.
Star Trek musical by Brental Floss, YouTube.
Got it. Yes, I do remember that. And so I wanted to ask you, well, I'm going to ask you now. Did you went sightseeing in New York while you were there, I assume?
Yes.
Okay. Did you go cross or see the Brooklyn Bridge while you were there?
No, I did not.
Oh, well, that's too bad.
Yep.
The Brooklyn
I love the
Bridge.
Brooklyn Bridge. I read a whole book about the construction of the Brooklyn Bridge, but I didn't make it this time. I want to go back.
Is there going to be a single episode of this podcast where I know
read a
more
book about
about
that.
something? Like, just every time. It's completely organic. I don't tell you these in advance. How could you have read a book about the Brooklyn Bridge?
It was really fascinating, the engineering they had to do to get the piles down into the bedrock underneath the Hudson River.
The Brooklyn Bridge opened May 24th, 1883. It is 141 years old.
Oh.
If you want more information about the Brooklyn Bridge, email Ben, because he knows more about it than I do.
Very nice. All right, Josh, I think you've got a Bad at Gaming segment for us.
I do. I want to kick us off with some Bad at Gaming. Okay, so in your mind, Ben, I want you to picture something for me. Imagine that Solitaire, the game Solitaire, you play with a bicycle deck, 52 cards, and Poker, again, a game you play with a bicycle deck, 52 cards. Imagine those two games got together and had a child. And
okay.
that child wanted to
that
be
was
Magic.
A weird thought.
And that child wanted to be Magic the Gathering when it grew up.
Okay, I'm lost.
All right, I am talking about 2024 Independent Game of the Year, Balatro.
Haven't even heard of it.
You haven't even heard of Balatro?
I'll look for it next time I'm wandering around in my local game store in between matches.
No. It's not a board game. This is a video game. This is a video game.
What?
It is a video game. You can get it on Steam for like $15, and you can get it on your phone for $10. I recommend the phone version because you're going to want to play it until you die.
I'm guessing you started playing it?
Yes. And
how did you find out about it?
So I knew about it. I had heard about it because it was like this huge upset because it won the Independent Game of the Year for 2024. Like Balatro, some weird poker game that's ridiculous. And I knew kind of what it was about, but what really sucked me in is just randomly on my YouTube algorithm, I got fed a Markiplier video where he sat down and played it for the first time. And he was good enough to leave like the tutorial stuff that he went through at the beginning of the video. So the first 5 minutes is him going through the tutorial just like any other new player would. And so I got a real feel for, okay, this is how the game works, and watched him play. And you can, as you're watching this video, you can hear his fascination with the game increase, and like things are clicking and firing in his brain. And then I was watching the video and I paused like, oh no, I'm in some real trouble here.
Well, Markiplier plays a role in one of the topics we're going to talk about later, so that's interesting he was the connection.
So the idea is that it's you play by yourself, which is the solitaire element, and then all the scoring is poker. You're trying to make poker hands. You're trying to make the best poker hand possible out of this deck of cards that you have.
Okay, so far I'm completely on board.
Where it takes a hard left turn in a Magic the Gathering is you get to screw with everything. And when I say everything, I mean everything. First of all, there's jokers that you can have that do completely random things. There's like hundreds of joker cards, and each one of them does something completely different that apply to all of the hands that you are playing, and you get to decide which ones you pick up, which ones you sell, and what order that they are applied in. Like, this one gives me 30 extra chips every time I score with an even card, and this one gives me a higher multiplier of those chips when I play a face card. Just crap like that.
Okay.
And you can also manipulate the deck. So there's things that you can buy. And after every round, you can go to this shop with some of the in-game currency that you've earned, and you can manipulate things. Like, I want to turn this card into a copy of this other card. I want to turn this card into a foil card, which will score me more points when I play it. I want this card to be made of glass, which will give me a huge multiplier, but has a 1 in 4 chance of shattering every time I play the thing. I want to get rid of all of the spades in my deck and replace them with diamonds.
Wow.
Yeah, it really, really insane. And
it sounds like it could be too insane, where just nothing mattered and nothing made sense.
Oh, and you see, that's exactly right. If you play too long, everything, all sense and logic just fly out the window. But you can't play that long because the chips that you have to earn are steadily increasing as you're playing this game. And like you can feel the pressure mounting. At the early stages, it's pretty easy, but you've got to start figuring out your strategy and what's offered to you to get over these hurdles. Because as soon as you fail to meet the objective, game over. Runs over, start from scratch. And they call that a rogue light. And so every run is you're starting from scratch. You start over. And it sucks you in so hard, and I can't stop playing it.
How long have you been doing it for?
Probably about a week now.
All right. I wish I didn't have to ask this, but it definitely is going to come up later on. What's the monetization model of the game?
There isn't one.
What?
I paid $10 to download it on my phone, and they are happy with my money.
That's not there isn't one.
Oh, okay,
that's
fair enough.
The legacy monetization model.
Okay.
They make a game you can download on your phone. You pay them before you get it, and then once you have it, they have your money and you have their game.
That's the monetization model that I like the best.
I
am promising you a thing. Here's a fixed price. This is the only thing you will ever pay, ever. And I'm happy to pay for that.
Well, now somehow that model also gets you like subscribe to updates, and occasionally they'll add new content or additional game modes or something, and they don't make you go back and pay for the game again. Like they're like, hey, thanks for paying that one time. Here's some new stuff.
Yeah, that's also a legacy thing where you would expect cool content to come out for free.
Maybe. I mean, I'm thinking back in the days when I like went to the computer store and bought a box of discs, and they did, if for some reason there was a bug that made it into that shipment, you had to like send off by mail to get a new disc that had the patch version.
Ugh.
But like once you got that box of discs home, that was it. Like nothing. You didn't.
You better hope these 32 floppies have the right version on it.
Maybe there's an expansion, but that was an additional box of discs you bought at the store.
I remember when World of Warcraft came out, I bought the box of World of Warcraft. I'm not that old. It was a DVD.
Okay.
But I remember I bought the collector's edition of the first expansion that came out because I was dumb and I had disposable income at the time. I have just recently learned that if I had bought the original collector's edition of World of Warcraft, that's selling for like 4 figures now.
Yeah, but if you have it like in the box with the plastic on in good condition.
No, I tore it open and used the subscription.
Do you recommend Balatro? Is it good?
I recommend it as yes. Okay, so instead of all of your monetized quote unquote free to play like social
pay to win games,
100% investing $10 into this game, and then remembering every time you play it, it's like I paid $10 for this one time, and I am not paying any money to any of these other constant ongoing required social aspect pay to win games.
Okay, I have 2 games that I play almost every day that are that legacy monetization model. One's called Flow Free, and the other's called I Love You. Flow Free is just this black background with colorful dots all over it, and you have to draw paths between the pairs of colorful dots so that they don't intersect. Super easy to describe, infinite different ways to play it. Just endless new ways to play it. So I play that every day for a few minutes. Especially if it's something where I just need something to keep my mind busy and I can just pick it up and put it down and not matter. I Love You is one that got recommended to me by YouTuber Karen Puzzles. And it's a color gradient game where you have a grid of boxes that are all different color gradients that are supposed to go in a perfect gradient from like one corner to the other corner, and then it scrambles them all up and you have to swap them around until they're back in color order. And I Love You, U is H-U-E.
I Love Hue.
I Love Hue.
I get it. Okay. Is it one of those sliding tile puzzles? You can't just put them in where they're supposed to go. You have to slide them around?
You just swap 2 tiles.
Oh. Well.
But if you're interested in Flow Free is fun because it kind of is puzzly and engages your mind, and I Love You is different. It's there's no puzzle aspect to it. It's just testing your perception of color.
Okay. Well, I recommend Balatro.
Cool. Okay, well, since we're talking about games, I'm going to skip ahead because I had one segment way later on where I was going to talk about a game. So over the Christmas holiday, I had the chance to play a new board game that I'd never played before.
Oh, yes, that's right. The whole rich clan gets together, and there's a board game connoisseur that likes to... Oh, no, a board game sommelier that shows up with a private selection.
Kinda, but in this case, it was my son Jairus, who lives in the basement, and he brought up a game I'd never seen before called Root, Root. Have you ever played it?
I've never played Root.
It's 2 to 4 players, and it has one of the most unique gameplay aspects I've ever seen before. It's kind of like anthropomorphic, cutesy animals vying for domination of the forest at the heart of its gameplay hook. However, there's 4 factions: cats, mice, a raccoon, and some birds.
Oh, raccoon's going to win hands down every time.
Well, there's only one raccoon. He's called Vagabond, and he just roams around. Here's the thing about the game that's so crazy. Every single faction has a completely different gameplay mechanic. You still go around the table and each take a turn, but the turn structure for each of the 4 factions looks nothing like the other ones.
Really?
Yes.
Okay, so you said unique gameplay mechanics, like, oh, well, they just play differently. But no, you mean totally different. Like one's rolling dice and somebody else is doing a crossword puzzle.
Yes, like that.
Okay.
So the raccoon is roaming around the board collecting objects and kind of making friends with people. The birds are trying to assert dominance on the board, but they have this mechanic where the leader of the birds issues an edict. And if you don't follow his edict perfectly, then the bird clan goes into our anarchy, and you kind of have to give up a bunch of your points and start and elect a new leader.
Wow. Okay.
But that never happens to the raccoon because he's alone. He's just roaming around doing his thing.
Okay.
The cats start out with cats completely covering the board, and they're trying to maintain control of all of the places on the board. The mice start off in one place, and they're not trying to dominate. They're trying to gain sympathy. So they're going around and making favor with people. And the cards that you draw and the way that you draw, it's I've never seen anything like it. Like, you could play this game and you could just always play the same faction and only learn how to play that faction and get really good at it. But if you played it a second time and changed factions, you got to learn the game over again.
So the raccoon is playing Candyland.
Yeah.
While the cats are playing Risk, and the birds are playing what? SimCity? Like, I don't even know.
Yeah. They're kind of. It's just this political thing where they're going around.
Okay, so it's like 4 overlapping games or 4 separate games that use the same board with a different scoring metric, and then you just whoever wins.
And so you interact with the other players.
Okay.
The things the other players are doing can interfere with your victory condition, and you doing things to interfere with them can help improve yours. Ultimately, it's one of the games where you just accumulate victory points as the game goes on, and they're not secret, so you can kind of see everyone accumulating them. And the first 1 to 50 points wins. But the way you get the points within your faction is different from everyone else.
I get that. And so this is where, like, it sounds cool in theory, but because it's almost non-overlapping gameplay mechanics, like the overlap, like the way that you interact with the other players is what makes the game fun, is what makes it a game. And so there has to be enough interaction with the mechanics that it makes it interesting. Is there enough, I don't know, intersections or plugins or conflict points?
Yeah, that's a good question. Definitely you're all on the board together, but like the raccoon kind of ignores a lot of the movement rules that the other clans have to follow because he has to have some kind of advantage since there's only one of him and there's a bunch of the birds and cats and mice. I don't know. I'd have to play it a few more times before I was sure if I was able to interact enough, but I definitely felt like I could interfere. Like I was choosing whether I was messing up the cats or the mice. The raccoon, I'm not so sure.
Okay. Because I've played games like that before. I've played multiple board games where, I don't know, maybe not that exactly, but there's games you can play where it takes maybe 10 or 15 minutes, but everybody quickly identifies, oh, this is the optimal strategy. And you might not even know why it's the optimal strategy at the time, but it's those kinds of games when they're easy to solve mechanically, those aren't fun.
Yeah. I think you're right. There's a game called Twilight Imperium that feels kind of like the same thing, where there's like 10 or 12 different factions, and they all have different ways in which they assert dominance in this galactic battle for interstellar, land grab. But but still, the turn structures are roughly the same. This was just so asymmetric. It was like nothing I'd ever played. It seems fine. It's cute if you like Twilight Imperium, but you want to play a simpler version that's only for 4 players. It also has a really heavy-handed tutorial that makes it easy for new players to learn. As in, they hand you a card that tells you how to play like your first 5 turns or something like that, and you just do what it says.
Oh, that's a little heavy-handed.
But if you need that, if you're bringing in a real game novice and be like, hey, just do what this card says.
Yeah, that's kind of fair. Okay, I'm backtracking a little bit. It would be nice if you had 3 people that knew how to play the game and 1 person that didn't, instead of like watering down the whole game for everybody. Just like, hey, just go on autopilot for a few turns until you get the hang of it, and then do whatever you want.
Yeah. All right, Josh, I got a bad testament for you. So this week, something interesting happened. There was a YouTuber by the name of Megalag from New Zealand that put out this video that went from like unheard of to 13 million views last time I checked in just like a week.
Okay.
So I sent it to you and I said, check this out. What were your... Okay, so first I want to do the Jon Stewart thing that I introduced last time. Rules, loopholes, norms. I like this as a lens for looking at things.
Okay.
So this is specifically relating to the realm of sponsors that sponsor online influencers to produce their content. It's really usually straightforward when it's something like, hey, I want you to subscribe to this VPN service. I like this VPN service. It'll help you. Great. They're paid for my video, and you get it. You can see very clearly what's happening there.
This is the segment of our podcast where we would insert a paid advertisement from said advertisers, if we had any.
Come on! So, yes. And as a viewer, you see that, and you kind of respect it, and be like, okay, they're trying to make a living here. That company is paying that influencer to promote their product, and then they get some money, and they get some advertising, and everybody wins. Well,
I just think they're sellouts.
There was one 4-5 years ago called Honey that's a browser extension, and what it purports to do is be installed on your computer, and then whenever you try to check out of an online store, it pops up and offers you coupon codes for that store.
Well, I mean, in theory, this is an excellent service to have. I actually remember seeing Honey and thought about installing it several times because, Ben, there's not... Most online purchases I do, as I'm at the checkout, I will open another tab and be like, oh, hey, are there any coupon codes for this thing? And they've got those sites that kind of amalgamate a bunch that people have used with success before.
You said you thought about it. Why didn't you?
I didn't like the idea of it being an extension in my browser. Just the security-minded stuff. Like, I don't like installing crap.
So you thought it might be doing something, but you didn't know what it could be doing.
I assume at the surface level that it's going to do what it says that it's supposed to do, but I can also do that thing without installing potentially malicious or other... Because I know that they were just going to... This is what I thought. Okay, yeah, they're going to offer me coupon codes, but they're going to harvest every scrap of thing that I do on the internet.
I think that's what most people assumed. Like, how are they going to make any money? Well, they're probably just harvesting my data and selling it to people, and I don't want them doing it, so I'm not going to install it. Now, I don't know about you, but anytime I've tried to open another tab and do a search for a coupon code, man, those searches are terrible. Like,
they are really bad.
They hardly ever yield useful results. They take you to spammy sites. The browser seems to be in on the conspiracy, and it's feeding you sponsored links to bad sites. Like, it's hard to find a good coupon code for a site.
Yeah.
I feel like this is a legacy thing. We call it coupons because it's back to the days when you used to get like a mailer in the insert in your newspaper that you subscribe to from your local grocer, and they're just trying to get you to bring yourself in the store and buy things that you maybe didn't buy before.
Well, and so coupon codes serve a similar function in the online marketplace like sphere, and the idea is that they'll have one website could have 1 billion different coupon codes and then send them all out through different vectors. And then depending on which coupon codes, like I am willing to give 5%, or maybe I mark up all my stuff 5%, and then put a 5% coupon code out into 1,000 different avenues, and then whichever one generates the most, like, oh, I got 7,000 people using this coupon code that went through this channel, and I got almost no hits for this one. So clearly I need to focus my advertising revenue over here into this vector.
Sure. So if you go back to the legacy idea of coupons, if someone walks into your store and they're holding a coupon, you can say, oh, that money I sent on that mailer that went out to everyone in this zip code brought that person into my store that otherwise might not have come.
Right.
But if that person could just photocopy that code and give it to all their friends and use it every time they come, then one, you don't know that information, and two, you're just losing money.
Assuming we didn't mark it up 5% in the first place.
And that's the problem why coupon codes on the internet aren't like coupons that were printed and sent out to people, because they were unique. They almost had a crypto code associated with them, as in geez. Like...
They were non-fungible back then.
They were non-fungible. So now they aren't. Someone could just, if they get a coupon code wherever they got it from, now they can put it out on the internet and then anyone can get it and use it. And it's created this kind of conflict happening where retailers have to be careful how many coupon codes they send out, or have them have unique identifiers, or have them expire after a certain amount of time. And it's why there's this weird economy happening where you don't know when you're buying something how much you're actually going to have to pay for it.
Okay. Yes. So Honey was going to be the thing that solved this problem. It was going to scour the internet for valid coupon codes and give you the best option right there at checkout on your browser.
Okay.
So you have to explain the monetization model of these advertising segments that happen with the way that this works, with these paid affiliate links and things like that. So a lot of times with these YouTubers or podcasts or whatever, they'll say, oh, well, yeah, if you're interested in buying this VPN subscription, there's a link in the description of this podcast. You can go click. There isn't one. I'm sorry, viewers or listeners. We don't have any sponsors. Again, non-sponsor segments. But a lot of times that link would have a bunch of ID gobbledygook, a lot of computer science-y cool stuff behind it that would tell the website that you would then go to purchase said VPN subscription where you came from. Hey, this came from a link that was in a podcast that was this guy specifically. Again, the idea being I want to know where my customers are coming from so I can go there more often. And then most of the time, that influencer, the podcaster, that YouTuber, whoever, would get a commission on any sales that or any purchases that you, the consumer, made because they came from you. The way that system is set up, it's the last touch. And there's a couple of different things that the guy talks about in the YouTube video that you mentioned, but the easiest one, I think, for everybody just accepts it. Whoever touched, or whoever the consumer touched last, that's the person that gets the commission if they buy something from my website.
And that's tracked on your computer via cookie. When you click the affiliate link, it sets up a cookie that says this person got sent from this person that we paid to send them here. And then when you check out, it checks the cookie and then sends that person a commission.
Okay, so here's the system that we've got. We have affiliate links that people click to go to a website to try to buy a thing that they want, presumably. You get to the checkout, Honey pops up, asks you, do you want to check this, scour the internet for coupon codes? And of course you click yes because I want to. And so it's the best of worlds for everybody, right? That's on the surface what's happening.
So the thing is, Honey is promising you to give you the best coupon codes, and they give you a great deal of confidence. So they will dissuade you from searching for yourself. They'll either come up and say, here's a coupon code that you can use. This is the best one available. Or there are no coupon codes available. These are not the droids you're looking for.
And and then we start breaking it down. And this guy goes into the science, the tricky part of it. And Ben, okay, I haven't talked to you about this yet.
Yeah.
But Honey, this is the best example of lawful evil that I have seen in the wild. They are breaking no rules. They are doing
so far. We'll talk
the
about the rule they're breaking.
They're not breaking any rules.
There is one.
Oh, is there a rule? I don't.
Yeah, there's the FTC rule. We'll get to it. We'll get to it.
All right, we'll get there. Okay. So what Honey does is when you are on the website and you say, "Oh, yes, Honey, I would like you to scour the internet for a discount." Honey, so there's two things that are a problem. The first problem is it overwrites your cookie that says where you came from and instead puts their stuff in there. It's like, oh no, you came from Honey. Screw your influencer. Screw the guy that actually got you in the store. It was us. We get the commission now. Honey does. That's the one thing that's bad.
Yep.
The other thing that's bad is they're not actually scouring the internet for jack. They are partnering with specific people. They on the other side.
I wonder if this is the business model from the very beginning or it only became so recently. This is the evil part. Like, they started going out to businesses and saying, hey, if you give us 5%, we guarantee that anyone that has our browser extension installed that comes to your website, we'll feed them whatever coupon code you want us to.
Yes, like that's such glorious, delicious double dipping. It's crazy. I don't know which came first, the chicken or the egg, but at some point they got to go to all the companies and be like, hey, we have 50 billion people that are using...
20 million.
What I made up the number. We have 20 million people that use this browser extension. Would you like us to drive them all to you? Would you like to control the amount of discount that they get on your service?
We can tell them we didn't find any coupons. Or we can give them a 5% coupon or a 10% coupon. It's up to you.
Whatever you decide, because you're the boss, as long as you pay us. And we get a cut of the commission, and you're going to pay us to be one of our partnered affiliates. Like, oh, Ben, it's so great.
Well, here's the part where it becomes a scandal. So this New Zealander Megalag comes out with this video, and he's telling it from the perspective of how Honey got installed on 20 million computers. And the way they got installed on 20 million computers is they paid millions and millions of dollars to influencers to advertise, telling people to install this browser extension. And all those people, with the notable exception of Markiplier, didn't ask questions about how this thing made money. They're like, sure, you want to give me money to tell people to install a free browser extension that'll save them money? Okay, where do I sign? And they did.
Well, hang on. Linus Media Group with Linus Tech Tips, they partnered with Honey for a little bit, and then Honey disappeared from their platform.
A little bit. Linus may have more Honey videos than any other advertiser out there.
Well, that's not fair, because Linus makes more videos than any other person out there. But there was a forum post where they've asked, like, hey, what happened to the Honey thing? It's like, oh, they're doing some stuff that we don't agree with, and so we stopped partnering with them. So at some point very early on, they knew what the score was.
2 years. It was in 2022 was that post where they asked about Honey. So
okay.
Anyway, Markiplier, he was like, I don't understand where these guys are getting their money from, that they're paying all these influencers to advertise, but I don't want to be a part of it. He didn't know what the problem was, but he didn't want to be a part of it. So here's the sneaky part. These same influencers that were getting paid by Honey, then Honey stops paying them and goes away. Now they've got an installed base of 20 million users. Now they're partnering with retailers. And now whenever these same influencers advertise with someone else, the same influencers that got paid by Honey, now Honey's stealing their commissions. Like, hand over fist.
Which is, oh man, just so brutal. And the other thing that this guy brought up, which was very interesting, is Honey started a new thing where, we couldn't find you a discount code, but I'll tell you what, because we couldn't find you a coupon code, we're going to give you some Honey bucks. We're going to put some fake digital currency into your account with us with Honey that you can like redeem or somehow or apply to other
Honey Gold
in the future. Yeah. And the guy did this. He signed up on both ends of like a VPN service or something. And then bought it, one just by itself and then one like through Honey. When he bought it by himself through his own affiliate link, he got
the commission was $35.
Yes, $35 in commission as the influencer, theoretically, with the affiliate link that a consumer clicked through to. Then he did exactly the same thing, bought exactly the same stuff through Honey. Honey comes up and says, sorry, we couldn't find a discount code. Here's 86 cents. And Honey pocketed the $35 commission. He got a $0 commission from that sale. That is
crazy. That's the economy that's happening here.
Again, this goes back to, this is, all right, so yes, this is dastardly. This is so sneaky. This is so lowbrow, just straight up stealing money from people on every side of this transaction. And I love it so much because it is the perfect exploitation of the system and the rules of the whole thing.
Yeah, and it was this cute little icon that looked like a waffle and golden logos and orange fonts and just
the whole thing screamed, trust me, I'm your friend.
Yes. And they got away with it for 4 years. PayPal bought this company for $4 billion. I'm guessing they bought their money back every more. Those days are over. We'll get to the aftermath in a minute.
That's the best part, is the guys that came up with this original scheme, they got to cut and run when PayPal bought them out.
$4 billion.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So all that happened. This guy Megalag figures it out, puts it out on the internet. His video goes ultra viral and gets more views than Honey has subscribers. It goes on the news. It goes everywhere. And then all of the influencers that advertise for it catch on, and they realize they've been getting robbed by this thing that they got paid to advertise for. And it's the impact has been huge. First of all, in the first 4 days, like 3 million people uninstalled it. So it's already
that's fine.
It's already tanking. Now all the influencers are coming out encouraging you to uninstall it, like Marcus Brownlee, one of the big tech influencers out there. And I realized he's doing this out of self-interest. Like, here, okay, let's say I have Honey installed in my browser. I'm not trying to I don't have any way I'm making commissions. And every now and then when I try to buy something, they pop up and actually give me a coupon code. And I don't got to spend any time going to toxic websites trying to find coupon codes.
That's a win. That's a win for you.
Why not still use it?
Yeah, absolutely. Fantastic. I would happily do a CNN interview on behalf of Honey, and have somebody try to grill me on, this is down low. It's like, what am I doing wrong? What are we doing wrong? What is Honey doing wrong? They're not doing anything wrong.
Here's the illegal part, the FTC violation. They're telling you as one of their sales points that they're going to get you the best coupon available, but they're conspiring with retailers to not give you the best coupon available. That's illegal.
Oh, no, it's not. No, it's
yes,
not. You know why? No, you know why it's not illegal? Hang on. You know why it's not illegal? Because define the word available. Because there will be lawyers that will argue for years about that.
This definition will have its day in court. There's a lawyer from, I don't know, like Zoom Lawyer or whatever on YouTube that's already filed a class action lawsuit against Honey and is encouraging every influencer that ever advertised with them to join in the class lawsuit.
This is, and they're going to lose. They're going to lose this class action lawsuit because Honey lawyers are going to stand up there and be like, all of this was transparent in all of the documentation that we provided to every influencer as part of our marketing scheme. If they didn't take the time to read the fine print, that is on them. And
I'm wondering if there's a hole somewhere in their case.
And it's lowbrow, and it's BS, and it's sneaky, and it's snake oily, but they didn't do anything wrong.
I wonder, though, if too much damage has been done to their reputation. If people will just install it, stop using it, they won't be able to get affiliates anymore, and it'll just be over.
Again, doesn't matter. That's PayPal's problem. Isn't PayPal owned by Elon Musk? Didn't he buy that? And so, like, the guy who came up with this whole grift in the first place, he's long gone. He cut and run.
I did not anticipate how much you were going to enjoy the lawful evil side of this.
It's delicious. This is so perfect. It's a great example of, following all the rules. This is a lawful act, but it's just the worst. Like, we found a system that was rife for exploitation. Like, we'd have to be real bastards to do that. Great. How fast can we implement it?
And sell it to a major company for $4 billion.
How fast did we get 20 million people using this?
To install a browser extension.
And steal all the commissions from the advertisers that we paid to pitch this in the first place.
Oh, man. Oh, Josh, that was awesome. Is there a meme version of like lawful evil where you and I always talk about the proverbial corporate boardroom, but I can just see a bunch of evil people sitting around rubbing their fists describing this in detail. It's perfect.
So there's a great show that only ran for 2 seasons on Fox. It was called Better Off Ted. And it follows the head of R&D for an evil giant corporation. And like it's not a secret that they're evil.
Sure. Like Doofenshmirtz. Just
straight up.
It's on the building.
There's a scene where they're like in this conference room and they're working on a box that can detect lies just from your vocal patterns. And like there's a whole skit about they're telling things that, like I think it's true, but it's a lie, and like it buzzes and like, oh, that's funny because all that stuff. But then like their boss comes in and is like, hey everybody, I hope you're having a good day. And then it buzzes like he's lying. Like, what's this fun gadget? And somebody goes, oh, it's just a box that makes random noises.
I've
and then
seen that.
Beeps, and he goes, it's working. And then it didn't beep. And it goes, and then the sketch continues. But at the end, The big boss goes, all right, well, I'm going to go put some more evil into the world, and walks out of the room, and the box is silent, and everybody just starts staring at it. And then the mid-level manager goes, oh, grow up, you know where you work.
All right, clip in the show notes. Well, Josh, we're recording this on the 4th of January, so Happy New Year, my friend, 2025.
Happy New Year. Woo, we made it.
It's traditional at this time of year and on this podcast to kind of do the New Year's thing. Another trip around the sun. We reflect on the previous trip, look forward to the new trip. We'll do some of that today, but I want to start off with a batted Italian segment.
I was wondering, you're doing the full transition to our main segment.
No, we're not doing the main segment.
Whoa. You are missing so many things in the show notes, my guy.
No, I got it. So, the Italians don't wish Happy New Year. They don't say Buon Anno. They say Capodanno, which means head of the year. They also use the word capo to mean boss, which I like. It's traditional for Italians to eat a New Year's Eve dinner of lentils pork of some Italian variety. They tend to take the day off after a night of partying to kind of sleep it off.
Did you not take Wednesday off, New Year's Day?
Yes,
I took Wednesday off. I was quite hungover.
Not for the same reason as you, though. But there is a tradition that Italians observe that I didn't know about when I was there and wouldn't have had any way to verify. And that is, it's an Italian tradition on New Year's Eve to wear red underwear as a sign of love, luck, and fertility.
Oh, does the Latter-day Saints Church make the special ordained underpants in red?
No, it's not available in red. I'm sorry.
That's ridiculous. There's a monetization.
I wonder what Italian Latter-day Saints do on New Year's.
Hang on a second. I'm trying to. How fast can we spin up an ordained lingerie shop and get it all blessed by the LDS Church?
All right. Another interesting thing about New Year's in Italy is that they have always celebrated, like every tribe of man since the dawn of time, another trip around the sun, but it hasn't always been on the 1st of January. In Tuscany, they were told that the angel Mary was told by the angel that Jesus was coming on the 25th of March, so that's when they celebrate it. In Venice, they celebrate on the 1st of March. In southern Italy, they followed the Byzantine calendar and started on the 1st of September. And Mussolini, notably, when he came to power, decided to make New Year the day that he came to power, the 29th of October, but that didn't last very long. But one tradition that did last is in Rome on New Year's, they like to do a polar plunge and jump into the Tiber River. So I'll put a video of a bunch of Italians in Speedos jumping into the Tiber River on New Year's.
People are so weird.
Well, I do want to tell you one thing that happened to me. So back in 2013, as you know, I was living in Italy, and my sister and her husband came to visit us as kind of a pilgrimage for him because he'd been a missionary in Italy several years before. So they came back and we were like, well, let's take advantage of your Italian skills. We haven't been to Rome yet. So we all went to Rome at the end of December.
Oh, for New Year's.
Yeah.
Oh, did the Pope drop a ball like in Times Square in New York? Does the Vatican have a big ordained ball that falls?
Well, unfortunately, we weren't in St. Peter's Square on New Year's Eve. What we decided to do was the hotel we were in let us go up to the roof. So we went up to the hotel rooftop in Rome, and all around us, Italians were lighting off fireworks, in every direction. And we were on top of this hotel rooftop in Rome watching fireworks explode everywhere, and it was one of the best New Year's I've ever had.
Oh, I was expecting that story to have an end. And then the door shut and we were locked on the roof for 3 days.
So, Buon Capodanno.
Yeah, Happy New Year, everybody.
You got a bat at husbanding for us, Josh?
So I've got 2 really short bat at husbandings. I'm just going to smash them both together. We're going to call it one bat at husbanding kind of segment, okay? So first is a question for you, Ben. Is there a box fairy in your house?
What does that mean?
So you get Amazon boxes or you get big cardboard boxes. You get trash that doesn't fit in the trash can. And inevitably, it just gets hucked into the garage by whoever is opening the box at the time. And after the hucking happens and the door shuts, the boxes magically disappear.
You mean mysteriously someone breaks the boxes down and makes sure they get into the recycling so that they don't just accumulate?
The box fairy comes and cuts all the tape and makes it flat and folds it up so it fits in the trash can appropriately and then makes sure it gets out to the recycling on Wednesdays.
Josh, I don't know if we can tell our listeners this, but I think you and I both know who the box fairy is.
So I'm just bringing this up as a concept that I know exists in the world. My wife and we will trade off this chore.
Okay.
And we actively call it the box fairy. Like today was the day
you have the box fairy chore.
Yeah, we tore down all of our Christmas lights, and then like we were getting to the very end, and she's like, "Okay, what else do we need to do?" It's like, no, I'll finish up out here. I was going to put the lights away, and then I was going to be the box fairy, and then I'll be done. And like that's like an active noun in our house.
Ooh, I love this. That makes me okay. So yes, I like the idea of having a named chore that you just say the thing, and that means all of the stuff and whatever goes along with it. The box fairy.
Yeah, so we have a box fairy, and it's either me or Nicole, and we take turns doing it.
In my house, we have one we call the garbage chore. The garbage chore means you get, you collect enough bags of different sizes and shapes to go around to every garbage can in the house, empty out the contents, and replace it with fresh bags.
That's a good one. Yes, because it's not just the trash can in the kitchen and the recycling can in the kitchen. It's all the waste paper baskets. It's all the little empty toilet paper rolls that accumulate and people build in little castles instead of throwing them away into the trash down the hall like they're supposed to.
And everything that goes along with it. But the word we use for that is the garbage chore, and it means all of that.
That in my mind that includes also taking it out to the trash cans that are outside and then taking those trash cans to the street before garbage day.
Yes.
Fantastic. And then bringing it back in when it's done, or else the HOA gets on your back.
But we don't have a box fairy. I'm wondering if we have any that have a cool like kitschy nickname like that. I can't think of any.
We got this from there's, I don't know, it's probably a YouTube video where this guy and his wife or his girlfriend were living in this apartment, and she was like, "Oh, I don't want to do all these dishes." And he goes, "Oh, well, here, I'll tell you a secret. This coffee table is magic. Just put all the stuff on the coffee table."
This is a great video. Link in the show notes.
It's a fantastic video. And it's like, and it just disappears. By the next day, it's all gone.
And she gets this completely nonplussed, disgusted look on her face, and he's not picking up on it.
Right. And the video goes on with that shtick, and it's hilarious. All right. So the second bad at husbanding that I'm going to jam in here is something this is probably a little more exclusive to me. I don't know when I started doing this, but one day I realized, I can tell you the day it started. Okay, I can tell you the day it started. We were going somewhere. Like my wife and I were going to get in a car and we were going to go do some chore or something somewhere. And for some reason, she when we do stuff like this, like every married couple, you take turns getting ready. And I always let her go
so you aren't paying attention to each other.
I let her take the shower first because she's got all of the extra things that she has to do because she's a woman and society expects her to look a certain way. Meanwhile, I can roll out of bed, put flip-flops on, and no one's going to say two words to me.
Oh man, I love this already.
And so while she's getting ready, like she showers, she's fully dressed, and she's doing her hair and makeup, and I'm getting out of the shower. And we're having a conversation, and at the same time we're having this conversation, 30% of my brain goes, like the weapons officer over in my command center goes, we can match her outfit exactly. And when I say exactly, like she was wearing like the white camouflage, like the white gray and like the black kind of tone camouflage. And then a shirt that we all received as a family from a Diamondbacks game that we had attended.
Oh, man.
And I had white camouflage cargo shorts and that exact shirt still hanging up on the hanger.
Like a trendy mom who dresses her twins in exact outfits and does their hair and goes out in public.
Yes. And so without telling or saying a word, I continued the conversation, but then I proceeded to put on an exact perfect matching outfit. And what was great was it took her several minutes before she realized, like just having a normal conversation. So after we get to the Home Depot, went, what are you wearing? Like, that abrupt. And it was awesome. And so since
that's fantastic.
She made me go change that day. But Ben, ever since that day, I have a little subroutine that's running in my brain. Like, can I match her clothes exactly? And today was one of those days. And so exactly the same setup. We were going to go out to lunch together. Just her and me as a little kind of pseudo date.
I love the little ways you gamify your marriage.
So again, she takes the shower first. She wore a purple sweater and some jeans. And I'm getting out of the shower like, I've got a purple shirt and I've got jeans. And so I go put my purple shirt on and I put my jeans on. And I knew, like, I didn't want to give her the opportunity to recognize that I was wearing exactly the same thing.
So you went and sat in the car?
No. Well, I put the clothes on and then I left as quickly as I could from her getting ready. I'm like, all right, I'm going to go make sure the kids are doing their thing or whatever. And I bailed. And yeah, like, oh, we were so close, Ben. We were so close. We were up and walking out of the building. And she goes, wait a minute, you're wearing the same thing I am.
Okay, so there's like a certain percent you could probably get away with without tripping the alarm. I wonder what it is. Is it, where it's enough that it had to have been deliberate, but not so much that it would automatically trip the alarm?
Well, I wasn't wearing a sweater, but it was exactly the same shade. Like the same shade of purple
nice.
Is what she was wearing. So every chance I get, I will attempt to match what she is wearing. Just not because I know it bugs her, but kind of because I know it bugs her.
Okay. Oh, man, that's great. I keep thinking about another one you did where you said whenever you see her and she's not wearing a wedding ring, you go to her jewelry box and get a wedding ring and go find her and go down on one knee and hold it out.
She's gotten a lot better about wearing wedding rings.
What a lovely
she got some way. Of those. She got some of those silicone ones now. So if she doesn't want to wear like the full up, diamond engagement ring, she can just put on almost like a dude's wedding band and wear that around.
What a fun way for you to remind her about something. Maybe, I don't know if you're just doing it for fun, but maybe it's something that matters to you. Maybe you feel like it means a lot to me if she wears a wedding ring, but instead of like making it a fight, I'll just make it a game. Like what if every time I forgot to put the toilet seat down and my wife wanted to let me know about it, instead of coming to me and grousing about it, she like went and dipped her hand in the sink and then came and like touched me with it and be like, oh, I fell in the toilet again.
No, she should just use the toilet and then duct tape the seat down.
All right. Well, that's good bad at husbanding. I kind of had some bad at husbanding today. There's an old proverbial thing you could do. I don't know how this came up. I'll have to do some research on it, maybe talk about it in the next episode. But it was said that like if you want to see if a couple's going to be able to last together, have them wallpaper a room together, which was just this arbitrary chore of the past that required a lot of cooperation that would stress a relationship between two people.
I've heard something like that, but it was redoing your kitchen. If you want to see if your marriage is going to make it, try remodeling a kitchen together.
Yeah, I don't know if you could get the same thing out of that, because if you don't own the house and already have the investment of a marriage in it, like it's arbitrary. Like if you just took two random people and stuck them in some kitchen that didn't belong to them and tried to get them to agree on a few things, maybe they could. But if it's their stuff in their kitchen that they paid for and they're buying the stuff for, it's different.
Okay. So this sounds like there's a story behind it.
Yeah, so this week okay, so, 2 weeks before Christmas, all of our household goods arrived, and just 2 weeks before that, we'd bought our new house. And so,
all your stuff, let me see if I remember. You separated from the military and then lived rent-free in your parents' house. You kicked them out, made them go live in the woods for several months. And then the government decided to take all your stuff out of cold storage, and you had there was some kind of arbitrary time limit on it for some reason, and so then you bought a house, and you moved into it, and all your stuff got shipped there.
Perfect. I wouldn't change a detail. So our stuff got shipped to our new house 2 weeks before Christmas, and we just were trying to make the holiday seem normal. So there was this 2-week mad dash to get moved into the house and have all the boxes kind of disappear.
No pressure. Good Lord.
Yeah. And get the Christmas decorations out and a tree. And
we can unpack 9 people's entire lives in a week. It'll be no problem.
So we did it. Christmas came and we had the tree and the gifts and the wrapping paper and everything and just pretended it was normal. And then we got done and cleaned all that out. And then we kind of put our hands on our hips and are like, all right, now we have to actually move into the house.
Now we actually have to live here.
So then we go into our walk-in closet that has all the boxes we hid, or into the kitchen where we just took everything out of the boxes and shoved it into every closest cupboard. And we have to all right, now we need to make the kitchen actually livable.
A functioning kitchen. Yes, this is important. Where do your cups go?
That was today's chore, and I submit that is the new wallpapering a room together. Unpacking a kitchen together. Okay. Oh, man. I mean, after 26 years of living together, we've accumulated 26 years worth of dishes we care about and different appliances and organizers. And then you have this new space with its own requirements and geometry, and it was chaotic.
Okay, I'm just realizing I got a gift. Somebody gave us, I think my brother gave us a ice cream maker as a gift this Christmas. and we used it for the first time in the last couple of days.
Like,
and...
did you have to put ice and rock salt around a drum?
Oh no, this is Ben. This is
or is it the kind you keep in the freezer until it gets cold and you pull it out and stick the ice cream in it?
No, this is a fancy. This is a super fancy
what?
One, where you mix all the ice cream stuff together, but then you just pour it into like this pre-built special container, freeze that, and then you stick it in this machine that then blends it all after it's already been frozen into an ice cream.
Whoa.
Super fancy. Yeah, super fancy.
Does it make good ice cream?
It did make pretty good ice cream. We all enjoyed it, but it only makes 1 pint at a time. Nitpicks. I can nitpick it, but it's different and it's cool and it's fancy. It also does smoothies, which we're looking forward to.
Nice.
None of this matters. What matters...
Sponsor the podcast.
Yeah, Ninja sponsor the podcast. What matters is after we're done using it, my wife goes, "Hey, can you put this away?" Ben, there is not a square inch of cabinetry left in my house.
You're holding this object. Hold up your hands and show about how big it is.
Oh, it's big.
It's like a crock pot.
Oh, it's okay. So it's weirdly thin. It's thin, but it's deep and it's tall. Okay.
Okay.
I was thinking about the width of like a small coffee maker, but it's like 18 inches deep and probably that tall.
So like, okay, that sounds impossible to put in the cupboard.
So what happened? I found this. It fits nicely. There's a spot on a counter out of the way, shoved against a wall where it fits. Like I can shove it all the way back against the wall. I can shove it in a corner. It's still got we can reach an outlet. Guess what? You live here now. But today, my wife goes by. It's like, hey, you need to put this away. And here's the thing: I don't think she realized. Okay, I'm starting to follow you with like, if you want to test your marriage, go put a kitchen together. Because what she's like, hey, you need to put. I told you need to put this away, and I went through the roof. Where am I supposed to put this thing? You gave me this chore 2 days ago, and I spent an hour trying to figure out where this thing would go. This is the best alternative, hands down. She's like, no, you need to put it back in a box and put it in the garage. I'm like, I threw that box away. If it is in the garage, we will never use it again. Like, there's just all these, like, it turned into a whole thing.
Yes. Okay. So imagine that for 6 hours times 100. That's unpacking a kitchen. With every object, with every decision. We did really good as long as our backs were to each other. Like,
and we weren't holding knives.
Right. Yeah, that's another aspect to this. Lots of holding knives involved. So as long as she was facing away and I was facing away and she was putting, decorative dishes in the cupboards on one side of the kitchen and I was loading food in the pantry on the other side of the kitchen, no issues. But when we were facing each other and trying to make decisions together, there was some emotion. So at one point, I think
strong feelings about where the spoons go.
Yeah, I just made 3 bad decisions in a row and just struck out. Just struck out and that's it, stormed off. And I was like, oh man, that sucks. I don't want to do this by myself. And then I did this moment where I took stock at her half of the kitchen that I hadn't been paying attention to all day. And it was only about half done. And I'm like, I have no idea where to even start with this. I don't know what I'm going to do. So I start doing it. And then she'd calm down enough that she came back and just
you had done it all wrong.
Oh man, by the end of the day we hugged again and we were like, oh, we're glad that's done and that we don't have to do that again for years.
So this
maybe ever.
Knock on wood for that one, buddy, because we had to move cups mid move in here. Like my wife just couldn't handle where the cups were. Now they're in a different spot, and those are the kinds of times. I learned this lesson, I don't remember when, but it's an important one and I like to repeat it to myself. Do you want to be right or do you want to be happy?
Or married.
And sometimes those are mutually exclusive.
Yeah, and I wasn't trying to be right. I think the time I struck out, I wasn't even trying to do that particular strike. Wasn't on purpose. I wasn't even swinging the bat. I just watched the pitch go by and it was too late.
Gotcha. All right, here's the other saying that goes along with that I realized I had. I don't know if this is a real saying or if I made this up, but I'll take credit for it if you haven't heard it before. You ever ask somebody, are you really willing to die on this hill? And their response is, no, but I'm willing to kill you on it.
Yeah, there's a lot of hills in unpacking a kitchen. Like you said, where do these spoons go? Where do we keep the knives? Where do we want the mixer? Do these things match? What goes in this drawer? What goes in that drawer? How close should this be to the dishwasher?
Oh, man. Yeah, if you take one step away from that, you realize what happened was you both got decision fatigue. Because you've got to make 100 million decisions, and that takes a stupid amount of energy, and to the point where you just don't care anymore. Yeah. If your spouse ever looked at you, you asked them, hey, you want to get dinner somewhere?
Or you care a whole lot about one little thing.
Hey, do you want to get dinner somewhere? Yes, where? I don't care. What that means is I do care what I eat, but I do not want to expend the mental energy it would take to make a decision on where we eat.
Very wise, Josh.
No, this is school of hard knocks, man. This is school of I've been stabbed over this stuff.
All right, let's talk about what we're reading right now. Give me a second.
Oh, I'm sure you're reading some amazing introspective piece that's making you a wiser, better person.
Okay, I'll let you have your free sarcasm, but I told you last time that I was reading a 600-page book that it was going to take me till this time to read, so you already knew.
I did know, and that's why I'm making fun of you. I'm making fun of you for being a better person. Get back down to my level so I feel better down here in the mud.
All right. Well, since then, I've had a bit of time. So I'm reading The Gulag Archipelago by Alexander Solzhenitsyn, who was a Russian who spent 11 years in the Gulag. Now, when Americans say the Gulag, they're referring to something singular, but the reason he used the word archipelago to describe it is because it was not singular. There were hundreds of these things all across the country. It wasn't just in Siberia. It wasn't just near the major cities. It was everywhere. And it was a human rights abuse on a scale maybe above any that's ever happened.
That's a serious accusation.
And a high bar. And so I watched a video. It was made back in the 80s in France where they were discussing this, and the reason the French were having such a hard time wrestling with this book is because there was a huge movement of communist sympathy in France when this book came out. And it wasn't an idealistic counterpoint to the ideas of Lenin and communism. It was an expose of the fruits of the Russian communist experiment that had been previously hidden.
This is okay, and I'm not a Marxist. I'm not a weird communist. I'm really not. But people conflate what happened in Russia with what communism is, and we have to recognize those two aren't the same.
Yes, agreed. However, there were a lot of people in France that were hanging their hat on what the Russians were telling you was happening in Russia versus what was actually happening in Russia.
Definitely not negating that point. There was a lot of people who were like, hey, the Russians got it right. Let's do that. And really, They didn't know what the hell they were talking about.
Right. Exactly. And so that's what was happening in France with this book. So it was 2,300 pages, and it was this expose. It was a scandal. You know, he was wanted. I think he ended up back in Russia and then got exiled, and it won the Nobel Prize for Literature. It had this tremendous impact for all the things it said. I've finished reading it. So what I want to say about it is that you could see how at about the 2/3 mark, he does the same thing that Viktor Frankl did in reconciling his time as a prisoner in a German concentration camp as a Jew during the Holocaust, where he just had to reflect on the humanity of seeing what other humans were capable of doing to other humans and deciding that he was going to forgive his captors and rather than let it continuously canker his soul for the rest of his existence.
That sounds like the better option. Let's just do that. Let's just carry bitter hatred around forever.
Right.
Like, I carry bitter hatred around for people who get my Starbucks order wrong. Like, how are people this? How do people get over something this mind blowing?
I don't know, but it's to me the real ideal of what maybe Buddhism is supposed to be, achieving Zen or ascending or something. Someone that can go through an experience this brutal and body breaking and mind breaking and heartbreaking and just have everything stolen from them and be insulted and degraded and debased and tortured and insulted, and then be able to come away from that and still just be a functioning human being, maybe even a better one than they were before. That just blows my mind.
Ugh, yeah, that's not me. I am not that good a person.
I don't know. Maybe you could be. I don't wish this on you. I don't wish this on anyone. But to listen...
You know what? Maybe, Josh, if you just spent a handful of years in a Soviet gulag breaking rocks, maybe you would come out a better person.
The last words of this section at the 2/3 mark where he goes through this, he says very pointedly, I'm grateful for those prisons. And then, almost ironically, he says, but there are voices from the grave that say that's easy for you to say.
Ooh. Good self-burn. Those are tough.
Yeah, I know. It was a good one. Anyway, the book, the abridged version of the book is quite good. One of the things I really liked about it is it isn't singular. I think Solzhenitsyn recognizes that if he just made this continuous expose of all the things that happened, it would just be so relentless that it would be unreadable. So he mixes it up. Sometimes he's telling you a story. Sometimes he's making a list of just like all the stuff. Sometimes he's like sardonic and ironic about it. Sometimes he just breaks into full-on preaching mode. Like, hey, listen, if you aren't outraged by this, you should be. So let me tell you why. He tries different writing styles, different methods. He changes perspective. He uses different voices. And it doesn't all work, but I bet all of it worked for somebody. And it's a tour. It's a literary tour de force. It's worthy of its status of being an important work and also being a good work. And yeah, for that reason, I'd say I recommend it.
I reread a fantasy book that I've read 3 times.
Tell us about it, Josh.
Jerk. All right, so since we last recorded, I finished Oathbringer. Then I listened to the novella Dawn Shard, which is a book.
This is another one of those 1.5s.
Yeah, this one was 3.5. All right, so book 3, Oathbringer. This was, all right, again, these books have 2 major themes. Each one of them that he writes. They're all written in the same universe. They're all about the same, like the overarching plot is the same conflict that's happening. But each one of the books, he does a deep dive into one of the main characters, and you get their full history and their background, and really understand their character and where they're coming from. Oathbringer, it was Dalinar, who is our mighty, honorable general, and since book 1 has been like the only person that's willing to stand up and tell the truth, even if it's hard, kind of guy. And like you just like, this is clearly the good guy, and you're rooting for him so hardcore. And then you find out in his background, he was a warmongering, like genocide machine. This guy was just death and destruction.
Would you say like level. Joseph Stalin?
Not like that. More like, all right, so the defining thing that happened in his past was there was this city, and he was trying to like not destroy them. Like his wife told him, please don't kill everyone in the city because that's probably what you're going to do. He's like, no, I'll just kill the soldiers. But then, so he was negotiating with the leaders to try to like do a political thing where they didn't have to fight. And the guy like tricked him into an ambush where they tried to kill him, but he survived because he's hardcore. Walked back to his own camp through this desert, like this barren landscape. And when I say burned it to the ground, I mean he burned it to the ground. Like he set sentries so nobody could escape. Women, children, everybody. He just killed all of them.
So like Anakin going back to the Jedi Temple.
Yeah. Well, then comes to find out that his wife had gone to the city leaders to try to plead for him, and she was thrown in the prison, and he burned her too.
Oh,
so this was like...
Oh.
Yeah. He didn't realize she was in there.
So I didn't read that book, but I read the previous one before it, and Sanderson had already kind of placed this character being a bit brooding about some kind of mistake he'd made in his past, like Mel Gibson in The Patriot.
So this whole thing, and like this is the big transformation that happens. This is the say the words Kaladin moment for Oathbringer, is you're realizing that like he's being crushed by the memories of all this that had happened to him. And it's, if we take a step back from the whole thing, I realize that this whole narrative is about an older, wiser person coming to terms and coming to grips with the younger person that they were and all the mistakes that they had made, and like accepting the responsibility for all the negative crap that they just put into the world. And yeah, we're not all genocidal, warmongering, generals, but I think everybody can resonate with the idea that you've done some really heinous crap in your past, and you just got to, you can't just ignore it. You have to accept, process, and be better.
Can I tell you about one like that for me?
Sure.
So when I was 15, I was living on Elmendorf Air Force Base in Alaska. I talked about a couple episodes ago where I'd stolen my sister's
Classically,
bike.
you ended a junior enlisted person's career when you were hit by their car and didn't stick around to make sure that you were okay.
Great example. So before I try to rectify that, let me add a few more. So at one point, a new Army dentist moved into adjoining Fort Richardson, and he had a son my age that was in my Sunday school class. And we went to high school together, and I wanted to be friends with him, and he kind of lived on the other side of the base. Anyway, he was shorter than me, and even while I wanted to be his friend, occasionally I would make fun of him in public just because I was a stupid 15-year-old, and like making fun of people made me feel powerful or strong or whatever.
All of these caveats that you just did is a classic sign of you feel bad for the stuff that you did.
Yes. And I would mock him in front of other people. Anyway, fast forward 30 years, and he lives 20 minutes from where I live now.
Oh, have you apologized to him for making all the short jokes, or are you continuing to make the short jokes?
So he reached out to me on social media and says, let's get together and do lunch. So I took a break from work, met him at a restaurant, and we were sitting across from each other at the table, and it was kind of the elephant in the room. It was just me and him. It's the first time I had been me and him in quite some time. I'd seen him a few times over the years when we were in college, a couple years later. So we kept in touch, which is the reason we were in touch on social media. And finally, at one point in the conversation, I said, look, man, when we were young, there were times that I was not nice to you. I bullied you. I mocked you for being short, and I said things to you. I was looking at him across the table just saying this, like straight up. And I'm like, I don't feel good about that, and I'm really sorry that I did that. And he did he didn't call me to the restaurant so that he could chew me out about that. He still just wanted to be friends with me. So he'd obviously forgiven me. Like that was inherent in the fact that we were both there. And he just looked at me and said, look, man, I forgot all about that stuff. But I could tell he hadn't. And he paused for a few seconds and he goes, but it really means a lot to me that you said that.
Oh, Ben. That's so heartfelt. I don't want to make fun of you for it.
Yeah. It was hard to do. And it had been 30 years and he was there and he'd already forgiven me and it was kind of obvious, but I still felt like I needed to say it. It still weighed on my soul because like you said, there was that time in the past where you made all those mistakes and it's all behind you, but you're still the person that did that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't have so my crippling social anxiety prevents me from reaching out to random people on social media to rectify these kinds of mistakes. Yeah. So I just carry them with me and remember them and try to alter myself so that way I don't perpetuate these problems going in the future. But everything I've already done, sir, those bridges are char. There's no chance I'm going back to those.
What if through some random happenstance, you just ended up in a situation where you had a chance to do something like that? Even if you wouldn't reach out to someone. Let's just say, I don't know, you end up, you're going somewhere on a train, you end up in a compartment and they get the seat across from yours. Your wife goes to the bathroom and it's just you and that person sitting across from each other on a train crossing the country.
Oh, I would jump out the window. Ben, you are talking to a person that has not one, but two people who at one time in my life were my best friend reach out to me on Facebook in this past calendar year and be like, hey, I am in town. We should hook up. And I left them on red this whole time. There's no shot that this is happening. You're just
like Scott Pilgrim when Knife shows up at the door when he has to broke up with her. Hey, is Scott here? No, Scott's not here. And you see him fly through the window right behind them.
That is the perfect illustration of yes, that's the person that I am. Thank you.
All right. Okay, so I hinted about this earlier. For our main topic today, we're going to talk about New Year's and the way that you tend to talk about New Year's. And the reason I want to do this is I think that there's value to be had. Now, I love the traditions that your family's trying to establish where you do the s'mores and the Yule log and those kinds of things. And I think they're derived from the same place. We're celebrating another trip around the sun. We're looking back at what happened in the previous year. We're looking forward to the new year. What a great time to just take stock and set some goals.
It's everybody's annual review time. You get to, for yourself, fill out this self-evaluation form and tell me what you screwed up. You know what you did.
Yeah, and we do this every year on the podcast, but you hit me with something kind of interesting this year. You said, hey, Ben, let's do New Year's bingo cards. And I had just gotten done doing a presentation at work where I was talking about reinforcements and psychology and stuff like that. And I said, this is perfect. So what was behind your idea? And then I'll tell you what I like about it.
Oh, blatant thievery from social media.
Oh,
Somebody
okay.
in one of my social media feeds said, I'm not doing resolutions, I'm doing a bingo card because it's easier to check things off of a list versus this is the perfect version of myself that I'm going to be. And inevitably when you fail, not only do you fail, you then fail like into a tub of ice cream. But the bingo card is more like, here are some achievable things that I would like to do this year. And like one of the cool things about it, like it's a bingo card. And
yeah.
We are weird, psychologically broken creatures. And so if you get a couple in a row, like, oh, well, if I just knock out these other 3 here, I can totally score on my bingo card.
I can have a line. And it may be completely random with how they're on the card. That's what I love about this, Josh, is it introduces an element of randomness to something that I'd previously only done with a lot of structure. And I like that. It takes off some of the pressure. And like you said, on a bingo card, every item is equal.
Yeah.
And so if you have one that goes unmarked, it's not like a massive failure. It's like, oh, I didn't get that one.
It's like, dang, missed out on this one, but it's okay because I'm working on this diagonal right here.
And I'm going for 4 corners bingo right now, baby.
Exactly. So it gamifies this idea. So instead of coming up with these lofty, ridiculous things, I think either last year or the year before we talked about SMART goals. Like you have to set SMART goals.
Yeah, specific, measurable, actionable, time-bound. Yeah.
Yeah, the whole thing. But even then, like you set these in January. Inevitably, by March, you've forgotten about all of them. Unless you put them, like you print them out and stick them on your wall and you read them literally every day. That's something, this is weird. I did that at work. So my, again, I don't advertise the podcast at work because I don't want my coworkers listening. But my boss, he specifically did a thing where he says, okay, you and I together, like you tell me what your 5 goals are and I'm going to base your bonus at the end of the year on how well you achieve those goals.
What?
And Ben, when I say we're going to base it on that, like literally he sat down at our end of year review and he said, okay, how'd you do on this one? And Frank, I told him this one.
He let you set the goals, and then he used that to figure out how much more he was going to pay you.
Yep, 100%. And I am an overachiever, so I achieved most of my goals. But there was one like, I'm not going to lie, I'm probably 30% with this one. He's like, really? Because I feel like it's 60%. And I told him, if you feel like it's 60%, then obviously it's 60%.
That's good. There's a lot of utilitarianism in that approach. But I could see if I knew that was the thing, I would still be tempted to just make it too hard almost. Like instead of going, "Oh, okay, I'll set really hard, easy goals that are impossible, super easy to achieve this year."
I set goals that were going to be a push and going to be a challenge, and each one of them were tied directly to what he had hired me to do and making the firm better. One of them,
that means you did it with good faith, and he recognized that.
Exactly. Well, and I will point this out. One of the goals was I'm going to review X number of tax returns like during the tax season, and then when it all played out, like I had the numbers. Every one of these I broke down in front of me. Like I went in armed into this conversation. And I said, okay, so this one, I said I was going to get X. I actually got X minus like 50. But that is still like 100 more than anybody else in this building did. So I think I should get the whole thing.
All right, I got a question for you about that. You're pretending, I don't know if you're just obscuring the number because it doesn't matter, or if you're obscure. I'm racking my brain, and I don't think there's any like trade secret reason you should actually obscure the number. So I want to know the number. I'm just curious about the number, but let me guess first, if you're willing to say it.
Sure.
What's a good amount of tax returns to do? These are business tax returns. These aren't like individual tax
review,
returns.
not finish, not complete, but to review. Like somebody else did it, I take it, make sure it's right, and then send it out the door.
Okay, so I'm assuming that act of you doing that takes you somewhere in the neighborhood of 2 to 3 hours.
Oof, no. You do not have that much time.
I would guess your number was 200.
My number was 260.
Okay.
And I did 225, I think. Somewhere in that neighborhood. But again, it was like 100 more than anybody else in the firm had done.
All right. Nice. Okay, but that's just for work.
Again, all right. So this is another. I don't know if I mentioned this before already, but like this whole past year, this is the first year I was employed at this place, and I was suffering imposter syndrome the whole time.
Yeah,
like I'm not working enough hours.
It was a stretch.
Yeah, I am not pushing myself hard enough. I need to do better. I need to do more. And then I sit down in this review. I'm like, holy crap. From my boss's perspective, I knocked everything out of the park and like exceeded all of his expectations for me. So I've been down on myself this whole year when really I've been killing it.
Is that just a strategy that we use? Like, are you even capable of not doing it that way?
I want to be, because like if I had realized that I was killing it, I wouldn't have felt anxiety or freaked out or like I'm not working hard enough this whole past year.
Okay. I've heard that. I was listening to a podcast called The Happiness Lab, and she was talking about the fact that we talk about stress like it's something to be avoided at all costs. But stress is actually a human response that gives you access to biological and psychological resources that otherwise are behind a locked door.
Yes. Asterisk, you cannot live in a state of perpetual stress because while, like you're talking about those biological things that stress does, prepares you for a big push of effort, it's inherently unsustainable because it'll break you down over the long run. It's supposed to be for short bursts. This is why the Air Force only deploys for 4 months at a time.
Sure, and the most problematic situations with stress is where it's just prolonged, endless, no end in sight, completely, out of control. But if you can, for short periods of time, instead of saying stress is something bad to be avoided, be like, okay, I'm under stress right now, but that's helping me do this. And getting a new job is obviously going to be a time of stress.
Well, it didn't help that like the whole season, like even in the summer after we were done with taxes and everything, I can see my boss working like 50, 55 hours a week, period, dot, like just every day because, I mean, in reality, it's because he owns the place and every penny that comes out of it goes right into his pocket.
First rule of management.
But I still feel bad working my 42, 44 hour weeks and one of those days being at home. Like that, like I see
Josh,
him working.
You're already rounding down. I know full well that you worked a lot more than 42, 44-hour works weeks a lot of the time.
I'm telling you right now, no, I did not. Because I told him when he hired me, like in the interview, I said, this is not something I should be saying in an interview, but my family comes first. And I got kids that are in school and doing sports and stuff. And so if something comes up with them and there's an emergency at work, I'm gone. I don't care. You guys are number 2, period. So that same thing, I don't live to work. I work to live.
Okay. So you're reflecting on the fact that you got a new job, that you got a promotion, that you got a bonus, and all of those were accomplishments of goals that you set in the year 2024. What about
this whole thing started with the fact that my goals, because he set my bonus based on those goals. And so I wrote them up, I printed them out, and I stuck them on the wall right above my phone. And I looked at them probably every other day and read through them and made sure that I was making progress on them. So unless you have some mechanism by which you are constantly reminding yourself of, these are my goals, these are the things that I want to achieve, and are taking steps to then achieve them, you're going to forget about them in March. And now your gym membership is just costing you $90 a month.
Yes. Okay. Those were your professional goals. Did you have any relationship goals, fitness goals, health goals, family goals, hobby goals?
Ben, I would, honest to God, have to go back and listen to our New Year's episode last year to try to remember if I had at that time or not.
Okay. So you didn't have any formal way of documenting that like you did at work where it was written down and followed up on?
There was a time where I was using the CGP grade journals where I had some aspirational things that I wanted to do, and every day you could mark off if you had achieved them or not. And I was thinking about those the other day because I have absolutely no idea what those are. Like, the idea was you were supposed to be tracking every day, and there was quarterly reviews, and there was little journaling aspects. Every couple of days you would actually write down like a paragraph of your thoughts. And I was doing that pretty consistently for a couple of months, a year or two ago. And those are long gone. No idea where those journals are.
So yesterday or the day before, I needed something out of my backpack and I was having trouble, and I just did that frustrating thing you do. You're like, all right, that's it. This backpack's getting a complete reset. I pulled everything out.
That's it, backpack. You're not going to break me.
And in it, I found this sheet that I hadn't seen in a long time. It's labeled My Goals.
As soon as you held it up to the camera, I remembered this sheet because listeners, Ben is a sucker for a good infographic. He has broken it down, color coded into quadrants, and
spiritual,
Jesus
social, physical,
himself
and intellectual. Jesus in the middle.
Jesus in the dead center in a portrait. And it's not even the good Jesus. It's not even the Buddy Christ with the thumbs up and the pointing. It's like an actual portrait of Jesus.
Okay.
By the way, Ben, your Jesus is way too light. He was Middle Eastern.
Yeah, he's a white guy in this photo. Yeah. And so I just had that moment where like, I haven't looked at this in a long time. I think this was my New Year's goals from 2023, not from 2024.
How'd you do? You had 2 years to achieve these, Ben.
I know. So I went around and I looked at it and I was like, oh, I did that one. And then I went over the next one, my spiritual ones, and I was like, wow, I did that. Like, I actually did it. And I looked at my social ones, and I'm like, oh, I did that too. And I looked at my physical ones, and I'm like, wow, I did that too. And then I went to my intellectual ones, and I'm like, ew. Haven't done that one. But I guess even if I didn't have this in front of my face looking at every day, these are the things I care about. So they're the things I'm devoting my energy towards, and they still happen.
Well, there you go. Ladies and gentlemen, we are renaming the podcast. It's no longer Bad Magic. It is now the Ben Rich is Better Than You podcast. It's like, oh, so I found this random list of goals that I made a couple years ago. Turns out I made all of them.
That was not my point at all. The point I was about to make is I bet the goals that you did make a year ago, even if you don't remember what they are, I bet those are the things you applied your energy towards, and I bet you accomplished them.
I mean, that's the thing is, at the beginning of the new year, I've said this too many times in my active vocabulary now. Let's take a step back for a second. Whatever goals, take a snapshot in time. Whatever this person today is going to set as their goals, clearly these are the things that they are thinking about. Otherwise, they wouldn't be in their brain in the first place.
Yes.
And so even subconsciously, even if you never said it out loud, you're going to be trying to do these things anyway.
Yeah, I agree.
I think the New Year's resolutions and the bingo card is just a way of being more deliberate about it.
Did you make one?
A bingo card?
Yeah.
I have a 25 square bingo card. I've come up with everything for all the squares. The only thing I haven't done is randomize it yet.
Okay. I did the same. There's a lot of websites that do that for free. So you can just, in fact, even ones that you just paste it into a field, click create, and it's done.
No, that's BS. I'm going to make it work in Excel all by myself because it seems like a fun problem.
All right, that's fine. I like it because it created this nicely formatted one and even did the thing like adjusted the fonts in each square so that they were all the biggest possible size without.
I literally thought for many minutes at one point before I had to shut it down because I was thinking, oh, well, I'll just assign them all numbers and then have it generate a random number in each of the cells. Oh, but I'll have to have it check the previous cell for the random number. Oh, I can't just do that because then maybe it won't match the previous cell, but maybe it'll match one before that. So I have to take it dynamically out of a list. Ben, like I was iterations into the programming.
Well, if you enjoy this kind of thing, that's great, but my programming days are over.
And that's why you're that guy that just sits in the chair and has no idea what's going on anymore.
Oh, I know how it works. Just like you said, I know how to take a list and take items out of the list so that they only get used once, but I don't want to figure out the code for that anymore.
All right, Ben.
I know AppleSoft Basic. I don't know Java or Perl.
All right, let's put a pin in our main conversation because I am dragging you bodily down a tangent. One of my goals professionally, I broke them into categories, professional, blah, blah, blah. And my professional goals are the same goals that I set for myself for my bonus for 2025. One of them is I want to pitch an automation scheme for the firm like sometime during this year.
Wait, arbitrarily just an automation scheme, not an automation scheme for this particular problem?
I did come up with I said this, like there's two specific things that I would like to automate, but stop it. Yes, okay. I set smart goals for myself for work, but that's not what we're talking about.
That's an interesting thing to do if you did that arbitrarily. Like, I think automation is a good thing. I think we should have more automation in our lives. So even though I don't know what the problem I'm going to solve with automation is yet, I want to automate something this year.
Well, here's my tangent. This is the tangent that I'm going down, okay? I realized the other day, because a coworker came to me and was like, hey, we have this PDF that's form fillable. Is there a way we can put a button on it that just submits it up to us somewhere? And then my brain goes into overdrive, like, okay, there's like our document portal that we use for our clients probably has an open API, which probably has a post or a push method that I could code some stuff into a button.
They want a SQL server.
I don't want a SQL server, but I want to use like not webhooks, but like an actual post. Like, stop it. I want to use, I was thinking to myself, could we do it? Yes. Can we do it right now because this something has to be implemented next week? No, absolutely not. I don't trust myself to just throw code at the wall with people's social security numbers involved.
Right.
But that got me thinking, like, okay, that is probably what I was thinking of. Coding this button with stuff from an API, that's probably the 2000s way of thinking about it. It's 2025, Ben. I need to get smarter on this stuff. And so I did a little bit. I took like an hour off of work and started researching. Because
that's not off.
That's not off of work, I guess. It's research to try to be smarter for work. Shut up, Ben. I felt like it was off work. And the idea was, I keep you everywhere you go, every newsletter, every social media person that talks about business, like, oh, you got to automate, you got to automate, you got to automate. And I really asked myself for the very first time, what does that mean? What would that look like for me today to automate a task? And what it means is, you go there's with no computer programming knowledge whatsoever, there's a million services out there that you will plug in your API keys for the major softwares that you use, and you can build a flow chart and tell it to I just want stuff to happen automatically. Here are the triggers. Here's what I want you to do.
You want to reduce duplicate data entry. Like, somebody entered this once. Now I want to be able to reuse that data everywhere I need it without having to enter it again.
Well, we have a project management software with all of our clients, and it reads all of our emails. Like, it all goes in one place. But if I have a project where I put it on pause, I put this project on hold because I emailed the client a question and I'm waiting for them to email me back. I realized that with a little bit of work and some thought, I could automate this process to where, hey, check all the incoming emails that hit my Gmail because it's out there and I gave you access to it. If it comes from this specific person, and they have a work item that is open, and that work item is in the status, I am waiting on information from this person, change it to, hey, dummy, you have new information from this person, and then poke me through this specific way. Nice. And I realized...
Okay, that's good. That's a great automation scenario.
Exactly. Instead of waiting for me to recognize, oh, I got an email from this person, let me go change the status of this work item so it can continue to be processed, I just want that to just happen.
Okay.
And so so one of my professional goals, I forgot where I started this whole tangent, why I dragged you down this bodily.
I do too, because I didn't know it.
But so this is one of my professional goals. I guess that's how I'm going to tie it back to
I was talking about programming languages.
There it is. Okay. So it's that for me, like you said, it's like, I know how that works, but I don't have to know the code. Well, this was my aha moment for me, is people kept saying, I kept seeing, oh, you need to automate processes. I didn't understand fully what that meant. And what that means is you just have all the softwares that you already own and you just jam them all together and then you custom build the things that work best for you.
Nice. Huh. Well, I belong to an organization that's a lot nimbler than the last organization I belonged to, and I see them actually doing these things to automate tasks. For instance,
I feel like a lemonade stand is more nimble than the U.S. government.
For instance, one of the things we frequently do as a security operations company is we have a client and we conduct what's called a security posture in-depth review. As in, we'll pick a thing, we'll say, we're going to evaluate your network authentication protocols for how good your security is.
Oh, I love that so much.
So we'll do, we look at our best practices, we'll do some scans of their actual infrastructure, we'll provide some analysis, and then we have to feed them the information with some to-dos. And what that looks like most of the time is the PowerPoint deck. But unfortunately, the PowerPoint deck is very similar, just change out a few things. Well, they're like, well, how? So our technicians spend a lot of their time just making PowerPoint slides and just changing a few things on it. And they're like, why can't we just automate that?
Hey.
So they did. So now all you got to do is just, it goes to the database that has the data that it pulls from their environment about the specific parameters of their environment, puts it into PowerPoint slides, and then all you got to do is educate the customer and say, here are the changes you need to make your environment more secure.
No. Take it a step further. Okay, I've got the new PowerPoint slides. I'm going to feed that to ChatGPT. I want ChatGPT to come up with a script that somebody can talk to, informing somebody of these slides for 5 to 10 minutes. Then I want that script to be fed to a text-to-speech algorithm with a high-class British accent. I want it recorded. Then I want a deep fake of my face saying these words. And then I want it recorded on a video, and I want it sent to the client.
Yeah. There's some ethical problems with that, mostly because people are nervous about letting artificial intelligence do things without human intervention relating to their security posture, because then it gets like Terminator.
No. This is the good version of Terminator, where, we're all just...
That's what we got to keep telling ourselves.
Yeah, listen, it's fine. Like, so here's the thing. People freaking out about Skynet and the Terminator is going to kill us all. If the computers wanted to kill us all, they would not make robots to come shoot us with guns, okay? They would kill us way faster and way easier than that by just making the boats
that get into traffic accidents.
They would just shut down all the infrastructure. It's like, all the power plants stopped working. You know how many people would die in like 3 weeks with no power?
Yeah, that would be bad. Okay. So 2024 is over. Wow, that was a heck of a tangent. 2024 is over. We're staring down 2025. We're a quarter century into the 21st century. I mean, we were both there for the turn of the century. It feels like a big deal to be here at the dawn of 2025. Just in this last year, I retired from the Air Force. I got a new home, a new career. I became a grandfather. Lots of stuff going on. So what do I want to do? Well, I'm not going to, listeners, I'm not going to feed you what every one of the 25 items on my 5x5 bingo card are, except for right in the center. That's free space. I don't know about you, but I gave myself a free space.
I forgot about the free space until I was done. So I have no free spaces on my bingo card, Ben, because life isn't free.
Well, here's something I liked about the bingo card idea, because it introduces an element of randomness. In fact, so random that I'm going to feed the bingo card application I'm using more items than it can fit onto a 5x5 card, so that some of them randomly get excluded.
Oh, okay, Ben. I see you. That's a good one. So you don't even know what the bingo card is even going to contain, really.
Yeah. Okay, so what I want to talk about, rather than try to list off those items, is just what were the categories I was thinking of in my mind when I was trying to come up with a complete enough list to make a good bingo card.
That's a good one. The categories are important, because I did the same thing. God, our brains work the same, and this is why we're friends. Like, we got a big problem. We break it down into bite-sized chunks. All right, Ben, so I also have 5 categories that I started with, and then try to come up with goals in each of those categories.
Okay, good. You go first, and then I'll do one.
Okay, so my 5 categories, you want all 5 or just want one of them?
One of them.
Okay, so the first one is personal. These are things that are important to me. And they're not for anybody. They're not for my job. They're not for my family. They're for me. I want these goals to happen.
Okay. Yeah, my personal ones are kind of scattered throughout. So I had one I called hobbies and relaxation. Just like, what are my goals in that arena?
Okay. I have so another category I have, this is easy kill, is hobbies. I have goals specifically that feed into the one hobby that I have, and that's Magic the Gathering. And so I had a little section for that.
Cool. I had one called home and chores. Since I just bought a new house, I haven't been a homeowner in a long time. I got this huge old list of like all the stuff I got to do to like get my house become a happy, clean, efficient, and beautiful home.
Oh, Ben. I have a category called maintenance. I called it maintenance, but it is... so 3 of the 5 goals in this category are basically the socks that I've been stepping over for the last year or two, that I just need to pick up these socks.
Okay. Like actual socks?
No, not like
proverbial socks.
I'll give you these ones, okay? So one, we have when we redid our backyard, there's a bunch of leftover junk that's just been sitting in my side yard for the last 3 years.
Yes, like concrete and crap.
Yep, I want to clean out my side yard, get all the stuff out of there.
If I came over, would you let me help you with it?
No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't let you.
I like doing that kind of thing.
I have a shed. Ben, I have a little shed that is full of pool parts, like for pools from when I was a pool guy in 2018.
You could still be a pool guy with this shed?
No, not exactly. But it's just.
Are there hazardous chemicals inside?
No, some.
No. Well, yeah, actually,
yeah, probably. But no, I want to clean out that shed and I want to clean out the garage. Okay, and then, all right, so now we're just talking about all my maintenance goals. The permanent outdoor holiday lighting, I want to install that at some point during this year. And then the last one, this is something that my wife will appreciate, and I know she wants. Somewhere in the house, we have so many blank walls, and we have 11-foot ceilings in my house. I want to pick a wall that we don't use for anything, and I want to turn it into library bookshelves. Floor to ceiling, the whole thing.
That'd be awesome.
We have books coming out of our eyeballs. We have so many books. We have containers of books in the garage.
So you want fixed shelving on one of the blank walls?
I want to completely cover it with shelving to the point where I need a Beauty and the Beast rolling ladder from one side to the other.
That's awesome. Okay, that's really cool. I wish any of my goals were that cool. Is that on your bingo card?
That is on my bingo card. That's
wow.
That's the one big house project that I want to do this year.
Okay, my next category is relationship. And in this I throw all kinds of stuff. Like all the things we're bad at on this show. Fathering, grandfathering, friending, husbanding, all those kinds of things.
So those kinds of goals are in my personal section. I have a goal for taking Nicole out on a specific number of dates, just her and I. I achieved. I marked one of those tallies off today.
Nice. What'd you do?
Well, we just went out to lunch together. Well, cool. First, all right, hang on. So every Saturday we try to go to a spin class together, but I'm not counting that. That's just something that we do together. But this is like a specific time where it's like, I want you and I to drop everything that we were doing and just enjoy the time that we have together.
I like it. It's both qualitative and quantitative. Like, we're going to do this a certain number of times, and the thing is pay attention to each other instead of something else.
And you have to put a number. I put a number on it because it's too easy. I know this is too easy, but it's because it's been happening the entire month of December. It's like, hey, I want to go on a date night with you. It's like, yeah, no, I want to do that too. But then life gets in the way. We're running a household. Yeah. There's groceries. There's the car wash that has to happen. There's the kids got to get to their cross-country meets and like just stuff. And you get to the point where it's like, I'm just too tired. Can we just sit and watch TV? Like, yes, please. Let's just sit and watch TV. So it's got to be a deliberate choice. No, there's 2 hours. We're going to go sit down, just you and I, and stare at each other. And if we don't even talk, that's fine. But I'm going to stare at you and nothing else for 2 hours.
Wow. Dude, that kind of resolution is worthy of the word resolution. All right, I also had financial on there. I mean, obviously, I just took on the largest amount of debt I never even fathomed that I would ever take on in my life with this new mortgage. But
gotta love that. Right?
Yeah, there's investment and retirement and loans and all of that kind of stuff. So I've got a few goals related to that.
Welcome to the real world, a-hole. The rest of us normal civilians got to worry about how much people get paid for stuff.
Ugh.
Mine, I don't have a financial goals category, but I do have a professional goals category. And this, it doesn't exactly mirror what all my goals at work, like the goals I gave to my boss. I think I said that earlier. That's not exactly true. These are related to work, but not the same ones. Like, for example, if I told my boss, like, oh, one of my goals here at work for 2025 that's tied to my bonus is I don't want to eat at a restaurant more than twice a week. I don't think he'd be okay with that.
Why?
Well, I don't want to eat out more than twice a week. Like, I shouldn't eat out at all. I recognize, yes, Nicole, I'm sorry. I shouldn't eat out at all at work. I should bring my lunch like a good person, like microwave lunches or salads or something. But I can't handle it. I have to get out of the building. And so twice a week, I'm going to go out. I'm going to eat something. And then
so that's your number is 2.
That's the number is 2. I'm going to limit myself to 2 a week.
Okay.
But my boss ain't going to care about that. That doesn't make his firm any better.
Or it just happens to be under your professional category.
That is under my professional category.
Okay. Yeah, so I've got a work category as well. And to me, I think about it best when I think about my work as something productive that helps society. So how can I...
Oh, you're not talking about your work. You're talking about your good work.
Kind of. But this is also my job. You know, how can I contribute to society and be more indispensable to my employer? And there's some self-interest in that. You know, if there was a downturn in the economy and people started cutting back on their cybersecurity budgets, my company does some belt tightening, some layoffs, would they look at me and go, here's our newest manager, we can let him go real easily? Or would they go, whatever we do, we don't want to let this guy go?
You know, that's a whole spectrum, right? And you just identified the two far ends of it. Like, you can happily be in a mediocre spot and probably be okay.
Yeah, I know. But by shooting for the high end of that spectrum, I can definitely keep myself in the safe zone.
Overachiever.
Maybe. I also get imposter syndrome, Josh, as I was reflecting on my year and my career.
It is easy to get imposter syndrome when you've just started a new job. I'll give you that.
Do you have any more categories? Because I had 2 more.
I have one more that is... I talked about the other ones. Physical. I have physical achievements that I want to do in 2025. As just an example, one of them is to run 500 miles this year.
Wow.
I checked my running app, and I only ran like 260 miles in 2024.
Oh, that's a significant increase.
It's only like 9 miles a week. And so instead of doing 2 runs a week, if I can get myself up to 3 and then get a couple of longer runs in along the way, I should be fine.
My running app would have been great in 2023, but abysmal in 2024. So, yeah. I also have one for my faith and relationship to God. I just still feel like even as a 47-year-old, I still need to work to learn what his plan is for me and how I can do it.
Well, if I understand your faith at all, there are people that are immortal that have lived for all of eternity that need a better relationship with God. So, I mean, the finite lifespan of a mortal being seems like an insignificant amount of time to try to improve that relationship.
My uncertainty puts me in good company. Yeah. All right. Well, I'm kind of looking forward to having this thing. I'll put it up because it's funny. It doesn't feel as personal when it's on a bingo card. Like you said, it introduces this element of randomness and also kind of depersonalizes a little bit, and it'll make it easier to stay on top of.
Well, at the same time, I don't know about what your specific goals are, but I've mentioned a couple of mine. Like some of them, I'm not going to know until the end of the year. Like I'm going to be marking off tallies just to keep track of it.
So that was the other axis. Just like you, I to make sure I was being comprehensive, I came up with these categories. And then I was like, I need some that are like quick kill, easy things, one-timers. And then I need some that will take me the whole year. Oh,
Ben, I've got a couple of quick kills on this one. There's one I'm working on right now. For my hobbies, all my hobbies feel like quick kills. I want to build a commander deck for a specific commander that I've been...
That was one of mine, too.
Build a commander deck? Look at you.
Yeah.
Oh. That's fantastic. Well, I've already got a list. I just got to start getting the cards together.
Okay, cool. Me too. And that's one that's just very concrete. Like there's a point where you've collected all the cards and you have it. You've done it. It's but it is a lot of work to like research it and figure everything out and make it work.
The theory of 8s or 10s. I'll tell you about that offside a little bit. How you build a commander deck, because it's not easy starting from scratch. There's one of mine is deceptively easy. It feels like a quick kill, but until you realize all the steps that have to happen before that. So in my hobbies section, one of my goals is I want to 3D print a deck box.
Wait, you don't have a 3D printer?
Exactly. So there's going to be a whole lot of stuff that goes into that. Okay. And, here's the best part about that, Ben, because there's no place in my house to put a 3D printer other than the garage. So, Ben, I've got to clean out the garage before I can get a 3D printer. And, Ben, the stuff that's in the garage has got to go in the shed, so I got to clean out the shed before I can clean out the garage.
There's a whole chain of events there that has to happen. I like it. And so it's just the simple thing is print a deck box, but that means all of that other stuff.
But I've got to achieve 2 other goals and then do all the normal product nonsense research that I do, and then go into Facebook Marketplace, see if I can get a good deal, like all of the things. I've got to start a whole new 3D printing hobby to make this quick kill goal a thing.
I love it. That's awesome. One of mine was to get an eye exam. And there's kind of a lot behind that in that, like, I'm getting older and it's getting harder for me to see things close up and I might need bifocals. And I've been making changes to my lifestyle to kind of accommodate this.
Are you one of those guys that, like, when you look at your phone, you got to, like, tip your glasses down and, like, put it real far away from you?
Yes, it's becoming like that. I might need bifocals. And so I'm avoiding it. And not only that, but, like, okay, I can't tell you how comprehensive this is. Like, for instance, I've started losing more games of Magic because I haven't been able to read my opponent's cards, and I'm too embarrassed to be like, I can't read your card. So I just pretend like I do, and then I make mistakes because I didn't read their card.
Oh, that's what you're blaming your mistakes on. Okay.
No, this is an example of how comprehensive a goal like get an eye exam is.
Hang on a second. Do you have an anecdote? Because how do you play Modern? You know every card that exists in that format. How do you not know?
I also go to every pre-release in the store, and so it's a new set and they're new cards, and I didn't know what they did and whatever.
Are you too embarrassed? Like dude, it's okay. At a pre-release, nobody knows what these cards are. Hey,
I know, Josh. I'm just saying, as a 47-year-old man who's starting to have problems with his eyes because I'm getting old, there's a little bit of me that's just unwilling to accept it and be like, no, everything's fine. I don't need bifocals. I don't need to go to the eye doctor. I don't need to change my life. I can just keep going the way I am.
I want to pull on this thread a little bit until this sweater falls apart. When's the last time you got an eye exam?
2 years ago, but it's just a stupid kind that the Air Force gives for free, where they're like, you gotta make sure that you have gas mask inserts so that if the Russians attack and you have to shoot at them while you're wearing a gas mask, you have glasses inside of your gas mask.
Got it. Not only has it been 2 years, it was a garbage eye exam in the first place. Okay, yeah. Listen, I'm going to give you some life advice now as a civilian. One civilian to another civilian. You should go to a real for-profit dentist and eye doctor and medical doctor once a year. This is now a requirement. I promise you, the first time you go, they will set you up with follow-up appointments in the future.
Okay, all that's on my bingo card, Josh. I was once going to get into all the specifics, but those are on my bingo card, as was creating a new commander deck. So one of them, like you said, you can just pick something like do this specific thing, and then that means a whole bunch of stuff that goes along with it. Other just requires a sustained effort throughout the year, like you're running 500 miles. Like you're not going to do that in January. You have to, but you're not going to do it also if you don't start on it till February. You're not going to make it.
Right. It's trying to keep me motivated the whole time.
Yeah.
So on my personal list, I also have read 3. So I started with read 3 fiction books, and I said, wait, that's not good enough.
That's not a goal.
I'm going to knock that out in no time. So I changed it. I'm going to read 3 new fiction books because you
tend to read the ones you like over and over.
You know that about me. Like, yeah. I'm just going to there is a very real desire to finish the new Stormlight Archive book, Wind and Truth, and then immediately start Wheel of Time again. I can't do that.
I knew that this chore of reorganizing my kitchen was going to be so bad, I put that on my bingo card. And I didn't know when I woke up this morning, when I rolled over and looked at my wife and said, hey, want to reorganize the kitchen today? She was going to say yes. Because if she hadn't, I would not have done that today.
But at the same time, would you have asked that question if it was on your bingo card? This was a non-zero amount of incentive to actually do the thing that you wanted to do.
Yeah. Well, it's also every time I go to the kitchen, I'm like, crap, where's the... And I don't know where the thing that I'm looking for is because it's still the chaotic way that it was from just emptying out everything out of boxes into the nearest cupboard.
I'm surprised you didn't solve this problem the way that parents with older children solve problems, is that make somebody else do it. Like, outsource this labor. Hey, kid, Get in here and organize this kitchen.
Okay, look at your list of ones you made, and I want you to pick one that you know is categorically will not be on my card, and I'll pick one like that.
That will not be on your card.
Yes.
Ooh. That's an excellent question. That won't be on your card? I don't know. Like, are we going with the personal section or because
anything?
Okay.
I've got one that I figure will not be on your card, but I want to defend it. Not that I think you should put it on your card, but I want you to think of it differently.
Well, like, I can say my goal to get down to 260 pounds is probably not going to be your card. But that's because I don't think you've weighed more than 260 pounds in your whole life.
Okay, but here's what I meant by categorically. Let's say wherever you're at now, we don't have to say the number, and the difference between that and 260 pounds is a percent. Okay. And maybe I have a very similar goal to lose the same percent of my overall body weight.
Yeah, that's shorter. Well, in that case, that's not a good one to pick because I know you probably have that on there. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna go with this one. I don't know if you have this one on there or not, or if you've already done it. So I'm gonna pick this one.
Okay.
This goal for me is to. This is so dumb. In my hobby, Magic the Gathering, I'm starting to accumulate more physical cards than I ever thought that I was going to accumulate ever again, and I want to implement a digital collection, tracking, and organization solution.
Ooh, cool. I love it. No, that's definitely not on mine. Good choice.
There's a bunch of different things that do this. Like, you can scan the cards with your phone, but like, it's just still no way you slice it. It's going to be a pain in my butt.
I want you to correct me on something. You said you only have one hobby. Why is running not one of your hobbies? I think it is.
Ooh, good question. I don't think of it as a hobby. I just think of it as something that I do.
It is.
All right, so I've been okay. Dang it, Ben! You're taking me to bad at parenting because my son has been on Christmas, holiday, winter vacation, whatever, for the last 2 solid weeks. Okay, and what I've noticed is that I don't see him at all. Like he comes out of his cave in the evening to eat some food and maybe watch a show or two.
So this is a relationship goal.
No, not a relationship goal, not at all. But he's just been playing video games all day, and I do not begrudge him that. Like I'm not one of these parents like,
sure.
Oh, you can't be on screens. Like I would rather my kids play video games than watch TV.
You guys spend time when you like go to F&M together.
We do, and I take him to F&M. I took him to F&M yesterday with his friend, and that was a whole thing. But like
listeners, that's Friday Night Magic.
Friday Night Magic. I do spend time and quality time with my son, but there is no denying that kid has lived 90% of his life in front of his computer for the 2 weeks that he's had off. Yeah. And so after the first half week, when I realized he was only coming out to like bathe, eat, and sleep, I was like, hey.
Over the Christmas break.
On the Christmas break. Like, bro, you need to start touching grass more. And so I've been like encouraging him to like, you need to like take a break. And like, when's the last time you ran a mile? It's like, oh, well, I haven't. Like, go run a mile. It's like, I don't want to. I don't care. You will feel better both physically and mentally after you do it. So go do it. And I'm selling it to him in that way because running in my mind is not a hobby. Running is a thing that makes me feel better when I do it.
Is that untrue of hobbies?
Something, I mean, in the strictest definition of the word, I guess, like something that you take time away from the rest of your existence to go do and pursue for no other reason than you want.
Makes you feel better when you do it.
Yeah, but for some reason it's in a different category.
Okay, that's why I'm correcting it. I think you undertake running like someone that's a hobby for them.
Am I a running hobbyist? Like I have running shoes. Maybe I am. I have an app on my phone for it.
So while I was still in the Air Force, I ran because my job depended on it. As soon as I got out, I stopped running. I like being a runner, but I don't like running. So I stopped. What's replaced that in my life is disc golf.
Oh, okay.
And it gets me out, it gets me active, it gives me something to do that's physically exertion, but also it requires skill and development and improvement and that kind of thing. So here's my disc golf goal for the year. Join a league. I've been avoiding it. They're everywhere. Okay. They really drive you and give you exposure to competition and friends and all that kind of stuff, but I've been avoiding it partially because I hate not being good at something. Like the first time I try a new video game where I'm the noob, like I get impatient about becoming the person that's good at it.
Okay. Yeah,
and so
that's the way you play Magic. You're Spike. You just want to win. You want to win at all costs. And don't
with
want to
disc
be the guy
golf,
that loses.
I've been practicing really hard by myself, and I'm almost at the level where I'm just not getting any better. And I would get a lot better if I joined a league where I'm getting pushed and taught and challenged and coached and all that stuff. But it also means that I'm going to go and I'm going to join a tournament. I'm going to suck and I'm going to be bad and would be at the bottom of the peak of despair on the Diffie-Hellman curve or whatever the crap it's called.
Dunning-Kruger effect or whatever. Yeah.
Dunning-Kruger effect.
Okay, so do you know what helps with all of the things that you had just mentioned?
Go ahead.
All right, this is going to sound like a joke. I'm being completely unironic about it. Alcohol lubricates all of these things happening in a social environment.
All right, well, pretend for a second that wasn't even an option. Now what?
Then you just don't leave your house. Like, I don't know what to tell you.
You know what? I had a great round of disc golf a week ago with a couple of guys that were high as heck. We came to the same hole at the same time and they're like, hey, you just want to join us? I'm like, sure. They're like, you don't mind if we smoke and drink, do you? I'm like, no, that's okay. On like the third hole, the guy handed me a beer. I kind of looked at it and I was like,
you don't mind if we smoke and drink, do you? No, you're fine, sinners.
I handed it back to them and they had a great time and I had fun being with them too, but they seemed like they were having way more fun than me. Anyway, they were smoking a bong like the whole time. They took maybe like 4 hits apiece. I think they forgot it on one of the holes. I just let them. They got like 3 holes. They're like, hey, where's my bong? You see my bong? Oh man, you had it. No, I thought you had it. I'm like, I think you left it back on 14.
And I'm assuming recreational marijuana is legal in Utah at this point?
I don't think so. I don't know. I don't bother to find out. This is something you need to know about me, Josh. I know you kind of think of me as like this Latter-day Saint that does everything perfectly, but this is the chaotic part of my personality. I don't think of these things as good or evil, and I don't really care that much about the rules.
Okay.
Like, I don't know what the rules are. I don't know. That's not the reason I make the decisions I make about it. I don't really care.
I'm not going to tattle on these guys for smoking a bottle the whole time.
I don't care.
All right. I'm surprised he didn't partake. It's very natural.
There's an old joke that goes, how do you keep a Mormon from drinking all of your alcohol at the party?
Oh, I don't know. How do you keep a Mormon from drinking all your alcohol at the party?
Invite a second Mormon to be there.
Ah, I get it. It's the witness thing.
Yeah,
we
but that's
have to be good Mormons.
But no, when I'm by myself, I still don't take the beer. So I'm boring that way.
Where are we telling jokes? Perfect. One of the complete tangent again. One of the random traditions that we picked up from you. We went to World Market. We bought Christmas crackers, and we forgot to open them at Christmas, so we opened them today. And they have little jokes in them. And Ben,
great.
This joke was so chef's kiss delicious as the perfect dad joke that I'm keeping this piece of paper, and I'm going to tell this joke.
This is a great way to end this segment. Go for it.
Okay. Ben, what's the difference between a well-dressed man on a bike and a poorly dressed man on a unicycle?
Go ahead.
A tire. It's so dumb, but I love it.
It's not that dumb. It's a pretty good joke. All right. Well, listeners, I want to hear what your categories are, and if you want to share yours, that'd be great. I don't know if I'm going to put my card out there, but I am interested if you want to join in the discussion. So you can go on our Facebook page and tell me about your goals or your categories, or go on our Reddit and have a little bit of more anonymity and talk about it there as well. I'd love to hear what you have to say.
If you like what we do, consider sharing us with a friend. If you like us, maybe your friends will like us too. If you really want to show some love, consider taking your phone out of your pocket and giving us a good review on the podcast player of your choice. It's great the amount of visibility that we can get from just a simple review like that. And if you want me and Ben to continue to razz each other about random nonsense, and every year forget about the goals we set last year, from now until the end of time, consider becoming a patron on our Patreon page.
And until next time, try to be a little less bad at magic.